Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us on this rather wet Wednesday morning. We've got an exciting presentation for you today, which is certainly a good day, hopefully, to inspire you all to start thinking of your next getaway to sunnier climes. I know many of you are accustomed to seeing Miles on these Zoom events. But he's attending our managers meeting today. So I've stepped in to host. I can see several of my clients who are on the call. But for those who don't know me, I'm Jane. I work at head office here in Chepstow with Miles. I've been looking forward to hosting this event, in fact, because I probably, like most of you, the Orient Express is definitely on my bucket list, having sold the product for many years, but not actually having been on board. I think without further ado, I shall introduce you over to Kevin of Citalia. Just before I do that, though, if I could just ask everybody again to mute their mics, that would be great. Their microphones just throughout the presentation. We will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. So if you could just use the chat facility in the bottom right-hand corner of your computers, and certainly anything that you think of throughout the presentation, pop it in there, and we will do our best to answer them. Okay, lovely. So over to Kevin.
Thank you. You can hear me, Jane, yeah? Good?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for that very warm welcome, and just want to extend that welcome from myself on behalf of Citalia. And thank you for joining us today on this exciting, like we say, bucket list webinar, this client webinar, where we're going to take you through the very exciting Venice, Simplon, Orient Express, and also the Belmond properties, the Belmond group. So we're going to cover quite a bit over the next sort of 30 minutes. So we really appreciate your time there. We might have a few people joining, so we'll get cracking straight away, and let's do some introductions. There we go. So as mentioned, my name is Kevin Gaddis. My role at Citalia is the Trade Partnerships Manager. So I am that in-between part between Citalia and your selected partner, Miles Morgan Travel. So I'm there to support your travel agents, that company, with everything they need from Citalia. In particular, this webinar that we're going to go through today. So that's my role, to support and do everything I can to ensure that you guys have that best possible holiday. I'm joined today, very luckily, by Heather Green, who is our Senior Regional Destination Manager, and also Stefano Nerta, who is our Regional Destination Manager, both looking after the programs in Italy. So in a couple of moments, I will pass on to my colleagues, and they are really the fountains of knowledge. Okay, so they're going to go through some key parts of this amazing product, some of the fantastic things that you can enjoy, some of the routes, some of the multi-center options, and what they don't know isn't worth knowing. Okay, they have got so much information to go through, and like Jane mentioned, please ask any questions at the end. We'll stick around and answer how many questions that you do have on this amazing, beautiful product. So just to kind of reinforce what Jane's very kindly done there at the start, this of course is a partnership, and I think nowadays, now we're hopefully coming out of this crazy world of COVID, it's very important that you continue to choose your partners in whatever way of life, whatever way you buy your products. And you would have used Miles Morgan for a long time now. We certainly enjoy being a key partner with themselves. We've been around for over 90 years now. Miles Morgan have got a very strong history. They've got 18 stores that they are very, very proud to be locally owned. I'm sure you know yourself that many travel companies nowadays are owned by many different people around the world. Miles Morgan is still very traditionally locally owned by Miles, and it's a fantastic thing to be partners with themselves, because you know we can get quick answers, we can get things going, we can get amazing itineraries, and we can work together to make sure you have that amazing holiday over in Italy. So it's good to know that you've got two big companies there supporting you for your next getaway. And what we're going to cover over the next sort of 3 or 4 hours, I'm only checking, over the next sort of say 30 minutes, is why Citalia. You know, let's look at our history very quickly, just to reinforce the fact that we are a very well and very established company. We're going to look at our specialist knowledge and our product range. Our book with confidence promise. So that's one thing that I do urge that you do look upon when you are booking any holidays, that you ensure that your tour operator has that book with confidence promise. We're going to look at the Orient Express, which is obviously the key part of today. We're going to look at some of the amazing hotels that the Belmond group, which own the Orient Express, have in Italy. Of course, when you go there, we don't want you to go back and forward straight to the UK. We want you to enjoy all parts of Italy. And hopefully with our collection of Belmond properties, you can combine 3 or 4 different destinations in your different holiday there in Italy. And then finally at the end, lots of questions you may have, please face them towards us. So let's first of all look at it, Citalia, and why Citalia? Why are you going to choose us to be your partner tour operator on your next holiday? And we do believe that nowadays you need to pick that company that has got the history, has got the heritage, but also the expertise and the guys not only in store in your Miles Morgan travel store, but also based in our call centre in Crawley. Okay, we are there to support the travel agents and make sure that your itinerary is completely bespoke and how you want it to look. Citalia is the leading tour operator in the UK for holidays into Italy since 1929. So we were really the pioneers of the travel for UK customers into Italy. We pride ourselves on our passion, our expertise, and we are renowned for offering the highest levels of service and unparalleled knowledge from our experts in the call centre. Okay, we win awards year after year, just like Miles Morgan. Our customer service awards, we win year after year. Our passion for the country earned Citalia the Gold Award in the tour operator, the best tour operator to the Italian Peninsula in particular. And for several years, we continue to win the British Travel Awards. From mid-range properties all the way to some of Italy's finest hotels, customers have the flexibility to tailor-make their own authentic Italian experience. Be it a city break to maybe Milan, Turin, Pisa, or be it a beach day down on the Amalfi coast, or maybe to Sicily or Sardinia. We can offer multi-centre offerings, which are very popular with our customers. And we can also offer the rail network, and you can also pick a car up and drive at your own leisure. Citalia's long-standing relationships with our Italian hoteliers stand us really in good form. The fact that we have some amazing offers, we have very good extras that we can include in your holiday, and we have that trust relationship, which is very, very important for the Italians. They've worked with us for a long time now, as you can see, and they trust us completely to ensure our customers have amazing holidays. And then just before I pass on to my colleagues now to take you through the detail of the Orient Express, you'll see on the screen now our commitment to yourselves. And this is really just to reinforce the fact is when you're now choosing your holiday provider, that you have to ensure that these things are in place and you've got this holiday completely how you want it. So we have got our book with confidence refund guarantee. You can enjoy free amendments. You can enjoy, if you need to cancel your holiday, for any reason your holiday is affected by COVID, we have that promise in place. So there's no reason why now you can book, for next year, and you can get that in place and know that the refund guarantee is there if unfortunately anything happens as we go down the line. We are fully ABTOL and ATOL bonded, which is obviously very important nowadays. And we have got the 24/7 concierge service as well. So we are there for yourselves when you're in resort, if you do need anything at all. Our destination knowledge is unparalleled. We know everything about every part of Italy. We cover every single aspect of the country. We only work with trusted partners. So of course, Miles Morgan, but when we're talking about partners, we also include particular hotels like the Belmond group in Italy. We've got obviously very, very key privacy options. So every single holiday includes your private transfer. And then of course, the health and safety. We've ensured that our partners in resort, our hoteliers, have complete COVID restrictions and procedures in place to ensure that everything is fully cleaned and everything is up to scratch for you guys when you do arrive into resort. And there we go. That's my opening. I will come back towards the end. I'd now like to pass you over to my colleague, Heather.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was just having a few problems there unmuting myself, so apologies. But good morning and thank you so much for joining us today and for really giving us the opportunity to talk to you about really what is a trip of a lifetime. As Jane mentioned, it is something that is on many people's bucket list. So it's certainly a wonderful thing to have the opportunity to enjoy. Sorry, Jane, I know I might sound like I'm doing a COVID briefing, but could I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So as Kevin mentioned, the Venice Simplon Orient Express is part of the Belmond group, and they own quite a few hotels throughout the world, really, and specifically in Italy, they have 7. So we will touch on the hotels as well as obviously the train, because really the two do go hand in hand. So without doubt, it's certainly one of the most romantic rail journeys. And certainly when you board the train, you feel like you are being whisked back to an age of nostalgia and glamour, really. I think everybody's heard of the train. It's an icon of Art Deco design and certainly an enduring symbol of luxury. The train itself comprises 17 carriages, maximum number of 180 people on board. And the original sleeping cars actually date back to the 1920s. There are 3 individually styled dining cars, and they are exquisitely furnished with Art Deco marquetry, beautiful fabrics. And in addition to that, there's also a lovely bar and a boutique if you wanted to purchase anything on board. The classic route that everybody tends to know is the London-Venice route. But you can do the route in reverse order. So you could start in Venice and you could go up to London. Most people would do London-Venice. They would have a couple of nights in Venice, perhaps even then continue on to another part of Italy. But the exciting thing as well is that last year they introduced the new routes of Rome and Florence. So this means now that if you have been to Venice before, you could actually fly to Rome or to Florence, do a few nights in one of those beautiful cities, board the train in Rome or Florence, travel up through Italy, up through France, disembark in Paris. We could then assist with accommodation for you overnight in Paris, and then you can travel back to London on the Eurostar. So that is something else for you to consider, as I say, if you're quite familiar with the city of Venice already. Next slide, Jane, thank you. So what I would really like to do is to just give you a bit of a flavour, really, of what your journey will be like, what the train's like, and also what you can actually expect when you're on board and the sort of itinerary that you would have. So each of the carriages on board the train, on board the Venice Simplon Orient Express, has a dedicated steward, and they will look after you throughout your journey and basically make sure you're having a lovely time and be able to really fulfill any requests that you may have. However, before you actually board the train, your journey does begin at check-in at Victoria Station. And from here, you actually board the Belmond British Pullman, which is the UK-based train. And you can see at the bottom there, that's a picture of an interior of the Belmond British Pullman. And the reason for this is because the Venice Simplon Orient Express, or VSOE, as it's fondly referred to, is actually based in France. So first of all, board the British Pullman, travel down to Folkestone whilst you're enjoying a really delicious lunch. And then when you get to Folkestone, you actually board a luxury coach, and that coach goes directly onto the train, which goes through the Channel Tunnel. So you stay in your seat on the coach for about 20 minutes or so. And then when you arrive in Calais, you clear customs, and at that point you actually board the Venice Simplon Orient Express. More champagne awaits as you board, and then really it's at that point that the adventure really does unfold. Your journey starts from the northern part of France, down through Paris, heading down then towards Switzerland and northern Italy. And throughout the course of the journey, you will see some ever-changing and some very, very beautiful scenery. I was lucky enough to go on the train once, and I must admit, when we boarded the train in Calais, I remember thinking, oh gosh, you know, am I going to be a bit bored now because I'm going to be on this train and in my carriage for the next sort of 24 hours or so. You've got lots of leisure time, but it is incredible just how quickly the time goes. You know, you may go to the bar car, read a book. It really is incredible just how quickly all that time does go. Next slide, Jane, please. Thank you. So after you've had your afternoon at leisure, your steward will ask you which sitting you would like for dinner. And the picture on the right-hand side there shows you one of the restaurant cars. As I mentioned, there are 3. There are 2 sittings, so some people prefer to go for an early dinner around about 7 o'clock and have a longer evening. Some people prefer the 9 o'clock sitting, so they can take their time and enjoy an aperitif in the bar and build up to their lovely dining experience. One thing to be said about your time on the Orient Express is that for the evenings, you can never be overdressed. So the ladies really tend to go quite over the top. For the gentlemen, obviously, it's a jacket and tie. And just a note about attire throughout the journey, it is expected that you will wear, smart but comfortable clothing throughout the journey, and certainly casual attire and jeans and things like that are not allowed. And then after your fabulous 4-course meal, you can then go down to the bar, which will be very atmospheric and vibrant. There'll be some music in there, lots of people having drinks, and it's just nice to go down there and socialise in the evening before you retire back to your cabin. Just a note on the wine as well. Wine is not included, but you will find that there is a huge selection to suit every budget. So after you retire, you wake up then the following morning, and you wake up basically whenever you want. Your steward will serve you your breakfast at a time that suits you. So your continental breakfast is served in your cabin. And then really another morning at leisure to take in more beautiful scenery, and then more food. And one thing I would say about the Orient Express is do prepare to eat a lot, because I must admit, when I was on it, I felt it was almost a little bit like intravenous food, because you just continually seem to be having an afternoon tea or a lunch or an evening meal. Really, really lovely food. So lunch then, and then leisurely afternoon tea, and then obviously you arrive in the beautiful city of Venice, and then your onward journey to your hotel. Most people would stay in Venice for perhaps 1 or 2 nights and then fly back. As I say, you can do the journey in reverse order. So you could go to Venice first and then go back to London on the train, or you could fly back from fly down to Rome or Florence, as I mentioned, spend some time there, and then obviously do the return journey via lovely scenery up to Paris. So lots of different options in terms of routes. Stunning scenery. You've got the Swiss alpine scenery. You've got the beautiful French landscape. So it really is a very, very just such an enjoyable journey. Just to say a few words now about the bar. That's a picture of the bar, top right-hand corner. It's open throughout the day, so you can go down there anytime if you want to have a change of scenery. You can have teas, coffees, obviously early evening drinks, after dinner drinks, enjoy a cocktail or their signature Bellini. And as I mentioned, it's lovely and lively in the evening. I found it was just a great place to go down to during the day, chat to a few of the other passengers on board, and just relax in a different venue, really. So on to dining, which we've already touched on. As I say, there are 3 individual dining cars, a nice picture on the bottom left-hand corner there of one of the lovely dining cars. Food is incredible. They can cater to any dietary requirements you may have. And the tables are made up of tables for 2 or tables for 4. So if there's a group of 4 or you're a couple but you'd like to socialise with fellow travellers, then obviously you have that option as well. And what I always found on the train is that the kitchen area is so small. It's remarkable what they are able to prepare in such a sort of confined spaces. But as I say, the standard of the dining experience and the service is really absolutely superb. So just to move on to the cabins now. So there are different cabin choices on board the train. So you can have the standard double cabin, a cabin suite, or a grand suite. So the picture in the top right-hand corner is of the cabin throughout the day. And then when you go down to dinner in the evening, your steward will be very busy transforming your cabin into your sleeping cabin for your overnight. And as you can see on the picture on the top left-hand corner, you've got an upper and a lower berth. It's fair to say that the cabins are quite intimate and compact. So just to say something about luggage on board the train, because the space restrictions are quite limited, you're only actually permitted to take into your cabin 1 suit carrier or a small overnight bag. However, because obviously people are going on to Venice or somewhere else in Italy on holiday and will have suitcases with them, you can put additional luggage into the storage section of the train. So that's not a problem at all. Just be mindful that you won't actually be able to have access to your suitcases until you get to your final destination. So, sorry, Jane, could you just pop back? Sorry. So another thing to mention here is you can have a cabin suite. So a cabin suite is basically 2 interconnecting standard cabins. So that would mean that you have sort of 2 day areas, and then overnight that would mean that you could have the upper berth and the lower berth and keep the seating area in the other cabin, or alternatively you could both have a lower berth and sort of make it a sort of a larger sort of sleeping area. So so those are the options. The bathrooms, as you can see bottom left, they are hidden discreetly behind beautiful inlaid wood doors, quite compact again, but you will find you have got everything that you could possibly need. Just one thing to mention as well about the cabins is obviously, you know, you are on a vintage train that dates from the 1920s. So do expect the odd bump and jolt throughout the course of the night, but that absolutely just adds to the fun and the adventure of the journey. And because of the space restrictions and because of the age of the carriages, there are no toilets in the cabins. There are no ensuite facilities. So toilets are at the end of each carriage, and the standard cabins don't have any showers either. So those are just things to be mindful of. Next slide, please, Jane. Thank you. And then if you really want to have an amazing experience, you could book a grand suite. So the grand suites were introduced just 2 years ago. There are 4 of them, and they are called Istanbul, Venice, Vienna, and Paris. So they're named after some of the cities that the train actually goes through on some of its journeys. And as you can see there, they're very spacious. You actually have a separate bedroom with a double bed, a separate sort of lounge area, lots of space there. And as you can see there from the picture in the middle, ensuite bathrooms and showers, which is great. And some people choose to actually just stay in their grand suite for the whole journey and have in-room dining. But certainly it's something extremely special. Next slide, please, Jane. So just to give you an overview now, this will put it all into context. Apologies there. I know we had some problem there with the audio, so I'm sorry you couldn't hear the music that accompanies the video. So as I mentioned, the classic destination is Venice. Most people would stay 1 or 2 nights in Venice at the end of their journey. But as I said, some customers do decide to go on to from Venice onto other parts of Italy. And Belmond do have 7 hotels dotted throughout the country. So I'm just going to hand over now to my colleague Stefano, who's just going to chat through some of the Belmond properties in Italy. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, Belmond has got a magnificent collection of hotels in Italy. And the Cipriani is usually where guests stay when they disembark from the Orient Express. It is a true Venetian classic with magnificent views over the lagoon. And it's located on the Giudecca Island, which is just off, the main Venice island. It's a 5 minutes ride to St. Mark's Square, and it's reached with the hotel private lounge. I mean, just the journey from St. Mark's Square to the Cipriani is spectacular in itself. You'll find here timeless elegance and charm in every little detail. Service is impeccable, and it's really all about vintage glamour. You may know that George Clooney got married in Venice, and he likes to spend time with his wife, Amal, in what he considers one of his favorite cities. And this is where he stays, at the Cipriani in the Palladio Suite. Clearly has got good taste and a healthy wallet. The hotel has got a Olympic-sized swimming pool, a Michelin star restaurant, and a spa called the Casanova Wellness Center. So it's really the perfect place to retreat to after spending a day in the hustle and bustle of Venice. Moving west towards Liguria, you'll find the Hotel Splendido. It's often sort of mispronounced as Splendido, but it's actually Splendido. And it's located in Portofino. Portofino is the gem of the Italian Riviera. It's the spirit of La Dolce Vita. I don't know if any of you have seen the Bocelli concert on Sky Arts in Portofino a few years ago. But it's fantastic, and it'll really give you the idea of what sort of Portofino is like, you know. This is probably my favorite hotels in the world. It's just amazing. It's a beautiful restored former 16th century monastery, which exudes glamour. But it has a sort of a understated and discreet elegance. It sits at the top of a hill that overlooks the Bay of Portofino, surrounded by sort of lush vegetation and plantation, you know. And many celebrities stayed at the Splendido throughout the years. To name a few, Richard Barton and Elizabeth Taylor returned time and time again to the Splendido, and it's easy to see why. And from here you can explore the Cinque Terre Natural Reserve. I don't know if you have heard about Cinque Terre. You could do it by train, but I would recommend by boat. It's a lot more scenic. These are sort of 5 little hamlets perched on top of the Ligurian cliff. It's really very picturesque. Or you could go to Genoa, which is the birthplace of Christopher Columbus, interesting city. Or venture farther afield to Tuscany. And this is where you'll find the Villa San Michele. Jay, next slide, please. Yep. It's another gorgeous hotel located in Fiesole, which is one of the hills that surround Florence, with fantastic views over the city and the Arno Valley. Arno is the river that crosses Florence. It's a 15th century monastery with a unique facade, originally designed by none other than Michelangelo. And all around is woodland, your terrace garden. So it feels as if you're in a resort, but it's only 20 minutes to the center of Florence, and the hotel provides a complimentary shuttle to the center of Florence. And one of the best features of this property is the loggia restaurant, where they serve candlelit dinners in the evening. And you can see the lights of Florence at night. It's really a magic atmosphere. There is also a cookery school where you can learn all about Tuscan cuisine. It's very much hands-on, so you prepare the food, taste it, and cook it alongside the chef. And remaining in Tuscany, Belmond has got another property which is called the Castello di Casole. And it's the latest member of the Belmond family, and it's ideal for a twin center in Tuscany if you combine it with the Villa San Michele. It's in the heart of the Tuscan countryside, about an hour and 30 minutes south of Florence, and roughly 30 minutes from Siena. And it's set within a castle dating back to the 10th century. It's full of fantastic antiques, wonderful artwork dotted around, you know, the castle. And all around you can see rolling hills, olive groves, vineyards. And one of the great things about this hotel is the spa, which is housed in what once was a large wine cellar. So you can have treatments or yoga sessions looking at the beautiful countryside. And the scenery at dawn, or sunset, is particularly breathtaking. There are lots of activities available for every ability level. You could go hiking or recommended trails, or perhaps, you know, a gentle bike ride exploring nearby towns. You go to San Gimignano, you can go to Volterra. And if you're staying at the end of the season, even truffle hunting with the resident chef, an expert on truffles, and you can follow that with a truffle-inspired dinner. Truffle is a bit like Marmite. Either you love it or you hate it. I mean, I absolutely love it. Continuing the journey down south, we find the Hotel Caruso. The location of the Caruso is in Ravello. It's a small town above Amalfi. It's a truly spectacular setting. It's 1,000 feet above sea level, where you can enjoy incredible views over the Amalfi coast. It's so up in the mountain that it kind of seems as if the hotel floats above the sea. Not many hotels in the world have got this type of location. It was originally built as an 11th century palace by a wealthy family. It later became a small pensione, a bit like a bed and breakfast. And Belmond acquired it 15 years ago and made it into one of the best hotels in the world. It's got an amazing infinity pool, historic interiors, beautiful fresco ceilings, and on the outside is surrounded by terrace gardens. It's a fantastic base to explore the Amalfi coast and further afield. You could go to Positano, Vietri, or perhaps the archaeological sites of Pompeii or Ercolano. And of course, you could take the ferry over to the islands of Capri, Ischia, or up to Sorrento and Naples. And there is also complimentary boat excursions provided by the hotel in summer. We then travel further south across the Strait of Messina. So I can tell you about the Grand Hotel Timeo. This again is one of my favorites. I've had the opportunity of staying at this hotel a couple of times. And we're in Sicily now. So this is in the town of Taormina, which is probably the most popular destination in Sicily. It's very pretty with a long pedestrian street with lots of lovely shops, cafe, and restaurants. The Timeo is another fabulous hotel. It's the first one to be built in Taormina in 1873, and in grand style too. I mean, this was in the days when Taormina was part of the Grand Tour, and famous writers and intellectuals such as D.H. Lawrence and Oscar Wilde resided there for a period. It sits on a rocky hill, and the views from the restaurant terrace are absolutely to die for. On one side, you got Mount Etna, often snow-capped with a plume of smoke. And down below, you have the Bay of Taormina, and the contrast is truly amazing. Literally next door, you have the entrance to the Greek amphitheater, where many events, including opera and concerts, take place in summer. And also in Taormina, the sister hotel Gran Timeo is the Villa Sant'Andrea. It's located on the beach in the lower part of Taormina called Mazzarò. For those that have not been to this part of Italy, Taormina is composed of two parts. The upper town, which is 200 meters above sea level, and the lower part, which is a bit more sedate, where you can find cafes, restaurants, shops, and it links to the other towns across the coast or motorway to other parts of Sicily. And the two parts, the upper and the lower part, are linked by a cable car, which takes less than 5 minutes. It's a lovely setting overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. And on a clear day, you can see in the distance the coast of Calabria, which is the southern tip of the Italian peninsula. The hotel was built in 19th century as a private residence of an English family. And that's exactly how it feels. When you enter the hotel, it's quite small, informal, it feels very relaxed. And there is a sort of aristocratic charm about it, particularly in the evening when there is live music playing and it kind of feels as if you are with friends. I joined it a couple of times, the piano bar, even if I sing like a dog. If you're staying at Gran Timeo, a shuttle bus is provided, for guests to enjoy the private beach facilities at the Villa Sant'Andrea. So you get the best of both worlds. And vice versa, if you prefer to have dinner at the Timeo with panoramic views and looking in the distance at the flickering lights of Naxos or Letojanni, which are the towns near Taormina. So I hope we have whetted your appetite for when travel to Italy starts again without restrictions. There are really endless possibilities, but with Orient Express and a stay in one or more of these fabulous hotels, you can really expect the very best. Back to you, Jane.
Thank you very much, Stefano, and to Heather as well. I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. I know I've certainly updated my knowledge on the Orient Express, which is great. I can see in the chat box there are a couple of questions, so I think I will pop some of those questions firstly to Heather, if that's okay. Ken Walker, sorry, is asking if could a mobility scooter be stored in the luggage area, please?
I think as going on the train with, if somebody has mobility issues, it's actually not too much of a problem. So I think it would depend in terms of the assistance that's required, because the train, the Venice Simplon Orient Express has 3 quite steep steps to board the train. So somebody would need to be able to board via those steep steps. The British Pullman, they do have a ramp that somebody could use, because the entrance to the train is a lot lower. But the SOE obviously dates back to the 1920s, so you've got that quite steep climb. I don't honestly know the exact answer about storage of a mobility scooter. I'd be more than happy to find out.
Yeah, cool.
I don't think that would be a problem, if I'm being honest. Certainly, if you were traveling on the train with somebody who did have some mobility issues, what we could always do is request a cabin that's at the very end of a carriage, so that you've got really easy access to the toilets at the end of the carriage. And we could obviously also request a cabin that is adjacent to one of the restaurant and bar cars. So again, you don't have too far to walk. One thing to bear in mind, obviously, is that the sort of the corridor area as you come out of your cabin is quite narrow. And again, as I mentioned, you can get a few bumps and jolts.
Yeah.
And then I suppose ultimately, just sort of talking about the whole mobility issue, you know, and this could be useful information for, you know, a wider audience, is thinking about your final destination. Now, if you're going to Venice, obviously it's steps and it's bridges, and it's certainly a city where you do need to be quite able, really. That said, when you get to Venice, and you go into your private water taxi, again, it would need to be requested and confirmed in advance, but some of the water taxis can be fitted with a lift, so that if somebody has got real mobility issues, then they can use this facility to board the water taxi, because otherwise, you know, you're sort of stepping off dry land onto the edge of a boat, and then down 2 steps into your private water taxi. Obviously, Venice itself needs to be given some thought. So you would probably need to consider a hotel that's perhaps located around the area of St. Mark's, so that you don't have to walk too far. And some of the major larger bridges sort of outside the Hotel Londra Palace, and outside the Danieli, for example, they've actually got ramps now over those bridges. So as a city, I think they are starting to think a little bit more about people that have perhaps got mobility issues.
So I think, sorry, Heather, I was
just going to say, and then obviously places like Florence are obviously all very compact and quite walkable. So it's not just about thinking about the train, obviously, it's thinking about the wider picture as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think Ken, was also asking, does the ordinary suite, so I guess the standard suite, have a shower?
No. So the only showers on the train are the ensuite showers in the grand suites.
Yes.
So if you were to book a standard cabin or a cabin suite, you will just have your little compact sink area, no shower, and the toilets are at the end of the each individual carriage. A grand suite, which is obviously a completely different price point, they have ensuite bathrooms.
Okay, lovely. So I think what we'll do on that, Ken, I'll arrange for either myself or one of my colleagues to give you a call just to find out the level of mobility that you have, and I'm sure we'll be able to help you in any way we can with that. Because I think Ken also was going on to say, what about the other hotels that you were discussing, Stefano, in regards to mobility? I've certainly been to the beautiful Caruso in Ravello, but again, I'm not too sure about the mobility, because I know that that does have quite a lot of steps from memory. It's quite a few years since I was lucky enough to go there, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if I could just sort of jump in on this one, Jane, for the Caruso, you're quite right. There are sort of steps throughout the property, and also it's sort of at the top end of Ravello with steps going down to the village town of Ravello itself. So I don't think it would be a very good choice, if I'm being perfectly honest.
No, not that one. No. Okay. All right, but there's other options that we of course be happy to explore on that one.
Of course.
Okay, thanks for that, Heather. I will just see what else is in the box here. So Claire Nichols is just asking, hopefully you travel through the Swiss scenery in daylight.
You do indeed.
Yeah, I thought I was going to answer that, but I thought I'll let you.
The thing is, the scenery changes all the time throughout the journey as you're traveling down through, France, and then into Switzerland, and then northern Italy. So it's forever changing, and it's lovely. And the route does change sometimes as well. Normally, the normal route when you're going southbound is via the Simplon Pass, but sometimes it can be via the Alberg Pass. And you never really know which will be the exact route until you board the train. And the reason for this is because it's not like having a confirmed airline slot or a confirmed timetable that you have with ordinary trains every single day. So they have to request and get confirmation of the timings and the routings before each departure. And this is why your timings on the train are always confirmed literally a couple of days before departure, because they are subject to confirmation by the countries through which the trains will actually travel. So they never vary much at all. But instead of it being, say, I don't know, a 4 o'clock arrival in Venice, it could perhaps be a 4:20 arrival or something like that.
Okay, super. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any other questions in the chat. I did have one from perhaps Heather. As a travel agent on the sales desk, we're obviously, lots of clients have moved their holidays from 2020 and 21. So I was just wondering about the general availability for next year within the hotels and also the train. Obviously, we're urging our clients to book early because a lot of the certainly peak dates seem to be filling up really quickly. Is that what you're finding as well with your product?
Yeah, it's a really valid point, Jane. it applies, I would say this applies to Italy as a destination actually, because unlike perhaps other destinations where you've got a lot of hotels and they're big hotels, the hotels that you have in Italy, certainly the sort of more authentic properties that Citalia would feature, tend to be smaller hotels, perhaps an average size, I don't know, let's say 50 rooms. And what we're finding across Italy as a destination, including the Venice Simplon Orient Express, is that people who had bookings made for 2020 and couldn't travel, they've postponed those bookings to 2021 and now can't travel either. So they're postponing them again to 2022. And then additionally, specifically for the train, you've probably got people who have already booked ahead, say for 2022 to celebrate a special occasion. So you've got the normal demand plus all this additional demand because people have been moving departure dates forward. And the other thing to bear in mind on the train as well is that sometimes corporate companies will actually take the entire train for a corporate event. So that means some of the departure dates are actually taken out of service.
Yeah.
So, you know, my suggestion would be to anybody thinking about booking the Orient Express for next year or to, you know, to Italy for a holiday for next year is, you know, book early because the availability will go quite quickly.
Yeah, that's really good advice, actually. How far in advance are you going? Because I've got some clients who are interested in 2023. So.
Orient Express tend to release their rates for their train about 18 months in advance. So certainly we've got everything on sale for next year. And I would expect towards the end of this summer, we will get 2023.
Oh, great. Okay. I also have a client from Chepstow who would like to travel on her own. So I wasn't too sure about the single supplements because I've generally just booked groups of friends or couples. How are the supplements working for?
Actually, Jane, apologies. That's one thing that I did forget to mention when I was talking about the cabins. There are single cabins available on the Venice Simplon Orient Express. There's one single cabin at the end of each carriage. So 17 carriages. So obviously availability is limited. Alternatively, you can book a double cabin for sole occupancy, but obviously that makes it a much more expensive option.
Yeah.
But single cabins on the train are available.
Right, super. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think I didn't know if you wanted to add anything, Kevin or Stefano. I think everyone's done a really comprehensive presentation, and I just wanted to say thank you and thanks for everyone joining. Our lines are open 7 days a week, and if anyone does have any further questions that they think of after the presentation, do please call either myself or any of our branches, and we'll be pleased to help in any way we can.
Yeah, it was just really just to summarise from myself. First of all, thank you very much to Stefano, Heather and yourself, Jane, for joining us today. And obviously, especially Stefano and Heather for putting all your expertise and knowledge into this webinar. And I hope that we've whet the appetite of your customers, Jane, and we've given them hopefully a sense of adventure next year. And the fact that,
absolutely, you know, I'm inspired. It's not at my bucket list to number one.
Definitely me. And I think between Miles Morgan Travel and Citalia, you've got two amazing brands there that can obviously make these dreams come true. And all the fun stuff we're putting to today with the different hotels and different routes, obviously it could be a real good adventure for you. But I'd like to end on a video, if that's okay, Jane, which was the slide before. And then thank you very much to everyone that's joined us, taken time, and feel free to leave after the video and pop in and see your Miles Morgan Travel agent as soon as possible.
Right.
Once again, there's no volume, so I do apologise, but here we go.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go there. There we go. Super. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's probably the last. Yeah. Thank you.